Summary of The Reluctant Fundamentalist by Mohsin Hamid. Changes. A young guy approaches an unknown man in the streets of Lahore, Pakistan, and asks him, in a manner that is a combination of extraordinary politeness and scary familiarity, if he can be of service. For the purposes of this summary, we'll call the unknown man the stranger. Changes takes the stranger to a nearby diner where they drink tea and eat dinner. He says that the stranger looks like an American. As the afternoon turns into evening, Changes tells the stranger about his time in the US. Changes comes from a well-known but falling apart Pakistani family. Still, he gets into and goes Princeton University, where he gets great grades and acts like an interesting foreigner while secretly working several jobs to support his family. He tells the stranger that he now realizes Princeton was teaching him to be pro-American by giving him skills that he could use to help American businesses, but he didn't know this at the time. Near the end of his senior year, he goes on an interview for a job at Underwood Sampson, a well-known company that figures out how much a business is worth by analyzing it. During his interview, Jim, an executive vice president at the company, finds out that Changes is on financial aid and hides his past from his classmates to avoid being judged. Jim tells Changes that he did the same thing at Princeton and gives him a job. Between finishing from Princeton and starting his job at Underwood Sampson, Changes takes a trip to Greece with his peers and friends from Princeton. He meets Erica here. She is a beautiful and charming Princeton graduate, and he falls in love with her right away. Changes starts his work at Underwood Sampson in New York. They become friends with Wainwright, another student, and his co-workers and bosses really like him. At the same time, he keeps hanging out with Erica, who lives in New York, and asks him to dinners and parties. Changes sees that Erica seems very lonely even when she's with friends. He then finds out that Chris, her boyfriend and childhood friend, died last year. Changes sees the Twin Towers fall on September 11, 2001, while working in Manila, Philippines. He finds it satisfying to see America, which was so strong and proud, brought to its knees. Then, on his way back to New York, he is stopped at the airport. He starts to notice that racism and discrimination are getting worse in New York City and at Underwood Sampson. After going through the pain the attacks of September 11, Erica starts to miss Chris. Changes and Erica have sex one night. Changes helps make it a success by telling Erica to act like he is Chris. Changes thinks this will bring them closer, but Erica moves farther away from Changes. Changes goes to Pakistan to see his family because he feels increasingly uncomfortable in New York and the United States as a foreigner after the attacks of September 11. He is angry at the United States for supporting India's attack on his home country. That being said, he doesn't really feel Pakistani either. Later, when he goes to Chile for Underwood Sampson, he meets Juan Batista, the head of a publishing company. He says that Changes is like a janissary, which is a reference to warriors during the Crusades who were taken from their own culture and made to fight against it. Without a doubt, Changes knows that working for Underwood Sampson is bad for Pakistan. He goes back to New York in the middle of his job. Jim fires him, but he seems to understand how hard things are for him. Changes goes back to Pakistan and teaches at a university. He also supports anti-American protests, but he says he never promotes violence. Changes often comments on how uneasy the stranger seems while telling his story. He also points out that the stranger has something under his jacket in the exact spot where spies keep a gun. They are getting food, and the waitress looks mad at the stranger. Changes tells the stranger there is no danger. After that, Changes takes the stranger back to his hotel. While outside, the stranger observes a group of people, including the waiter, following them and reaches under his jacket.
About the author. Mohsin Hamid was born in Pakistan, but he lived in Palo Alto, California, for a lot of his childhood while his father worked on his PhD at Stanford University. When Hamid was 9 years old, he moved back to Pakistan with his family and went to Atchison College, a very well-known private school that opened in the late 1800s. He went to Princeton University when he was 18 and studied with famous writers like Toni Morrison and Joyce Carol Oates. he finished with the highest honors possible. He went to Harvard Law School, but he didn't like it. If he had time, he worked on a book he had started writing while he was a student at Princeton. The book was called Moth Smoke and came out in 2000. According to Hamid, Moth Smoke was a big hit in Pakistan and the US. It was even turned into a TV drama, which allowed him to write full-time. He didn't finish writing another book until 2007, when he released The Reluctant Fundamentalist, a book about his time at Princeton. How to Get Filthy Rich in Rising Asia, his third book, came out in 2013. Exit West, Hamid's fourth book, was one of the finalists for the 2017 Booker Prize.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.